They thought humans were frail, until 500,000 Terran battleships filled the stars. Part 1: First Contact. The massive alien ship hung above Geneva like a dark cloud blocking the sun. It was 3 kilometers long, covered in strange metal that seemed to shift colors when light touched it. People on the streets below stopped walking. Cars pulled over. Everyone looked up at the sky with fear in their hearts. Inside the United Nations building, Ambassador stood at the window and watched the ship descend. She was 52 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and calm eyes that had seen many difficult negotiations, but nothing like this. No human had ever negotiated with beings from another world. Her aide, a young man named, stood beside her with a tablet in his shaking hands. "The military wants to know if they should scramble jets," he said. Shook her head slowly. "No, if they wanted to destroy us, we would already be dead. They want something else." She was right. The aliens sent a message in perfect English, asking for a meeting. They called themselves the Galactic Hegemony, a coalition of 12 ancient species that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They said they came in peace. They said they wanted to help humanity join the galactic community. Did not believe them. The meeting took place in a large hall that the UN had prepared overnight. Sat at a simple table with beside her. Across from them sat 3 alien beings that made her skin crawl with primitive fear. The first was a creature made of living crystal that stood 3 meters tall. Its body was like blue ice, and when it moved, it made sounds like breaking glass. Its name was, and it called itself the Supreme Arbiter of the Hegemony. The second was a Frail, an insect-like being with 6 arms and mandibles that could cut through steel. It clicked and chittered when it spoke, and its many eyes watched with cold hunger. The third was a floating mass of tentacles and glowing organs that communicated through telepathy. Its thoughts pressed against mind like cold fingers, and she had to focus hard to keep it out. Spoke first. Its voice was like stones grinding together. "We have watched your species for 300 of your years. We have studied your biology, your history, your technology. We have made our assessment." It paused and felt the weight of its ancient gaze. "Humans are fragile," continued. "You live for less than a century. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no telepathy. Your bodies break easily. Your technology is primitive. By the standards of the hegemony, you are classified as pre-spacefaring, non-threatening." Another pause. "Harvestable." His face went pale, kept her expression calm. "Harvestable," she repeated. "What does that mean?" The crawl made a sound that might have been laughter. "It means you will serve the hegemony. Your planet will become a protectorate. Your people will provide labor for our mining operations, our construction projects, our expansion efforts. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy." "And if we refuse?" asked. This telepathic voice slithered into her mind. "Refusal is not possible. 47 species have been harvested before you. All resisted at first. All submitted in the end. Resistance only increases suffering." Placed a data tablet on the table. "These are the terms of your submission. You have one of your months to accept them. This is generous. Most species receive only days." Looked at the tablet but did not touch it. She thought about the billions of humans living their lives outside this room, unaware that their fate was being decided. She thought about her daughter, who was probably watching this on television right now. She thought about all the generations of humans who had built civilization from nothing, who had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. She thought about the secret that only 12 people on Earth knew. "We will consider your offer," said. Her voice was steady and polite. The alien seemed amused, made a sound like cracking ice. "Consider it carefully, small one. The hegemony has never been refused. We have destroyed species that tried. Your little planet would not survive a single day against our fleet." "I understand," said. "We are weak, we are fragile, we are primitive." She smiled, and something in that smile made the crawl stop clicking. "We will give you our answer soon." The aliens left an hour later. Their ship rose into the sky and vanished among the stars. The world erupted in panic. News channels broadcast footage of the meeting. World leaders gave speeches trying to calm their people. Religious groups declared the end times. Stock markets crashed. But in a secret bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, met with the 11 other members of the Terran Compact Council. "They bought it," she said, sitting down at the round table. "They think we are exactly what they expected, weak, scared, ready to submit." General, the oldest member of the council, nodded slowly. He was 87 years old and had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. 200 years of silence, 200 years of building, and they still have no idea. "The fleet is ready," said Admiral, pulling up a holographic display. It showed the cloud, the distant shell of ice and rock at the edge of the solar system. Hidden among those frozen bodies were ships, thousands of ships, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. 500,000 Terran battleships, built in secret over 2 centuries, waiting in the darkness. "They gave us 1 month," said. "That is more than enough time. When they return for our answer, they will learn the truth about humanity." Who had been silent since the meeting with the aliens, finally spoke. "What is the truth about humanity?" Looked at him with eyes that had suddenly become hard as steel. "The truth is that we are everything they said. We are fragile, we are brief, we are soft." She stood and walked to the window, looking up at the stars that held so many dangers. "But we are also patient. We are stubborn. We plan ahead. And when someone threatens our home, our families, our future." She turned back to face the council. "We do not submit, we fight, and we win." In the cold darkness of the cloud, 500,000 ships waited in silence. Their crews checked their weapons. Their commanders reviewed their orders. Their engines sat cold and quiet, ready to ignite at a moment's notice. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. The galaxy was about to learn how wrong it was. They thought humans were frail, until 500,000 Terran battleships filled the stars. Part 2: The Quiet Centuries. 200 years before the aliens came to Geneva, a young physicist sat alone in his laboratory and stared at his computer screen. The numbers did not make sense. The radio signals he had detected coming from beyond Neptune could not be natural. Someone had sent them, someone not human. He was 28 years old, working at a small research station in the mountains of Korea. He had spent 3 years listening to the stars, hopping to find something. Now that he had found it, he wished he had not. The signal was a probe, an alien probe scanning the solar system, sending information back to somewhere far away. Tracked its path for 6 months before reporting his discovery. He expected excitement. He expected celebration. First contact with alien life was humanity's greatest dream. Instead, he got fear. World leaders met in secret. They analyzed the probe's signals and decoded its language. What they found made their blood run cold. The probe belonged to something called the Galactic Hegemony, and its reports described humanity as primitive biological resources suitable for harvesting. The world's governments faced a terrible choice. They could announce the discovery and cause global panic. They could try to contact the aliens and hope for the best, or they could stay silent and prepare. They chose silence. The Terran Compact was formed in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. 12 nations signed the secret agreement. They would work together, share resources, build in secret. When the aliens finally came, humanity would be ready. Was recruited to lead the technology division. He was 30 years old now, and the weight of humanity's survival rested on his shoulders. He gathered the best scientists from every country and gave them one mission: figure out how to fight beings who had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. For the first 50 years they studied. They captured the alien probe and took it apart piece by piece. They learned about faster-than-light travel, about energy shields, about weapons that could crack planets. The technology was far beyond anything humans had built, but it was not magic. It could be understood. It could be improved. Was 60 years old when they built the first Terran engine. It was ugly and crude compared to the alien designs, but it worked. A small test ship jumped from Earth to Mars in 3 seconds. The scientists cheered and hugged each other, just nodded and said, "Now we build more." By the time died at age 94, humanity had 1,000 ships hidden in the asteroid belt. His funeral was attended by 12 people. The rest of the world did not know his name. They did not know he had saved them all. His work was continued by a woman named was a naval architect, the daughter of Korean shipbuilders who had constructed some of Earth's largest vessels. She was 40 years old when she joined the Terran Compact, and she had a gift for design that bordered on genius. The alien ships were powerful but wasteful. They used 10 times more energy than necessary. They needed crews of thousands. They were built for intimidation, not efficiency. Looked at them and saw 100 ways to do better. She designed the Hawk-class battleship, the backbone of the Terran fleet. It was small compared to alien vessels, only 200 meters long, but it was fast, tough, and deadly. Each ship needed only 50 crew members. Each ship carried weapons that could punch through alien shields. Each ship could be built in 3 months using automated factories. The first Hawk was completed when was 52. She stood on the observation deck and watched it float in the darkness of space, its hull painted black to hide among the stars. She thought about her father, who had died 10 years ago without knowing about the secret war. She thought about her son, who served on one of the first crews. "It's beautiful," said her assistant, a young engineer named Minu. "It's a weapon," replied. "There is nothing beautiful about it." But secretly she was proud. The factories worked day and night, hidden beneath the surface of moons and asteroids. They built 1 ship per week, then 2, then 5, then 10. The raw materials came from mining operations disguised as scientific research. The workers were sworn to secrecy, told they were building defense satellites. By the time was 70, the fleet numbered 50,000 ships. By the time she was 90, it numbered 200,000. By the time she was 120, kept alive by medical technology that extended human life far beyond its natural limits, the fleet numbered 500,000. Her grandson commanded the flagship, a modified Hawk called the TSS Unyielding. He visited her on the orbital station above Mars, where she spent her days watching the endless construction. "Grandmother," he said, kneeling beside her chair, "the Council says the aliens are coming, within the next decade." Nodded slowly. Her body was old and tired, but her mind was still sharp. "Good, we are ready." "Are we?" asked. 500,000 ships against an empire that has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Smiled and took his hand. Her skin was thin as paper, but her grip was strong. "The aliens have ships. They have weapons, they have numbers, but they do not have what we have." "What do we have?" "Patience," she said. "We have waited 200 years for this moment. We have planned and built and trained while they were not watching. We have done what no species in the galaxy has ever done before." She looked out the window at the stars. "They think we are prey. They are wrong. We are the hunters who learn to be patient." Stood and saluted her. "I will not let you down, grandmother." "I know," she said. "None of us will. That is what it means to be human." When left, stayed at the window for a long time. She thought about who had discovered the alien probe and started everything. She thought about all the scientists and engineers and workers who had spent their lives building in secret. She thought about the generations of humans who had kept the faith, who had passed the mission from parent to child. 200 years of silence, 200 years of preparation, 200 years of hope. The aliens were coming. They expected to find a weak and primitive species ready for harvest. they would find something else entirely. In the darkness of the cloud, 500,000 ships waited. Their crews were the best humanity had to offer, trained from birth for this moment. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their orders were clear. When the time came, they would show the galaxy what humans could do. The quiet centuries were almost over. The war was about to begin. They thought humans were frail, until 500,000 Terran battleships filled the stars. Part 3, The Harvest begins. The Crawl did not wait for humanity's answer. They never waited. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, they had learned that primitive species always said no at first. It was better to show them the consequences of refusal. A few burned cities, a few million dead, and the survivors would beg to submit. 300 Crawl warships entered the Sol system on a Tuesday morning. Each ship was 5 kilometers long, covered in black armor that absorbed light. Each ship carried enough weapons to destroy a continent. Each ship was crewed by 8,000 Crawl warriors who lived for nothing but war. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the blue planet growing larger on his screen. His mandibles clicked with pleasure. This would be easy. The humans had no fleet, no weapons, no defenses. They were soft creatures made of meat and water. They would break like all the others. Target the largest population centers, ordered. Seoul, Beijing, Lagos. Show them what happens to species that keep the hegemony waiting. His weapons officer began charging the plasma cannons. 500 million kilometers away, aboard the TSS Unyielding, Fleet Commander received the alert. His bridge crew watched their screens in silence as the Crawl formation approached Earth. Lieutenant Myra, the weapons officer, gripped her console so hard her knuckles turned white. One of the targets was her home city. Her parents lived there, her little sister. "Commander," said Ensign at the navigation station, "they will be in firing range of Earth in 47 minutes. Nodded slowly. He had trained for this moment his entire life. His father had trained for it. His grandmother had designed the ships that would fight this battle. 200 years of preparation came down to the next hour. He opened a channel to the hidden fleet. His voice was calm and steady. "All vessels, this is Fleet Commander, condition absolute. Execute pattern dawn. I repeat, execute pattern dawn." In the darkness of the cloud, 500,000 engines ignited at the same moment. The energy signature was so massive that it registered on sensors across the entire solar system. On Earth, people looked up at the sky in confusion. The Crawl fleet detected the signal 3 seconds later. Commander stared at his screen. The numbers made no sense. "What is that?" he demanded. His sensor officer was trembling. "Ships, Commander, many ships, coming from beyond the outer planets." "How many?" The officer could not answer. The number was too large. It kept growing as more and more signals appeared. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. 500,000. The first wave of Terran battleships emerged from Fold space directly behind the Crawl formation. 10,000 Hawk-class vessels, each one a blade of black metal and burning engines. They appeared without warning, without announcement, like ghosts materializing from nothing. Opened a channel to the enemy fleet. His face appeared on every Crawl screen, a small human with calm eyes and a voice like iron. "This is Fleet Commander of the Terran Compact to unidentified hostile vessels. You have entered sovereign human space with weapons armed. You have 30 seconds to power down all systems and surrender your ships." Commander could not believe what he was seeing. Humans had no fleet. Every hegemony report said so. They were primitive, weak, harmless. This had to be a trick, some kind of projection or illusion. He laughed, a clicking sound that echoed across his bridge. "Surrender, to you. You are prey, human. You are meat. My fleet will tear your little ships apart and then burn your cities to ash." His expression did not change. "You have 20 seconds. Ordered his fleet to attack. The Kraul ships turned, charging weapons, ready to swat these insects from the sky. They had fought 1,000 battles. They had never lost. 10 seconds, said. The Kraul opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked across space toward the Terran formation. On any other day, against any other enemy, those shots would have destroyed entire fleets. The Terran ships did not try to dodge. They did not need to. Energy shields flickered to life around each vessel, absorbing the plasma like water absorbing pebbles. The technology was based on hegemony designs but improved, refined, perfected over 2 centuries of secret development. What took alien shields 10 seconds to block, Terran shields blocked in 1. Time's up, said. He gave the order. 10,000 Terran ships fired at once. They did not use plasma or lasers or any weapon the hegemony had seen before. They used kinetic accelerators, weapons that launched solid metal projectiles at 1% the speed of light. Simple, primitive, absolutely devastating. The first Kraul warship exploded before its crew knew they were under attack. The projectile punched through shields, through armor, through the reactor core. The ship came apart in a ball of fire and metal. Then the second ship exploded, and the third, and the fourth. In 30 seconds, 50 Kraul warships were destroyed. In 1 minute, 100. The Kraul tried to fight back, but their weapons could not penetrate Terran shields. They tried to run, but Terran ships were faster. They tried to call for help, but their signals were jammed. Commander watched his fleet die around him. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Retreat, he screamed. All ships retreat. But there was nowhere to retreat to. More Terran ships kept appearing, wave after wave emerging from fold space. They surrounded the Kraul formation like wolves surrounding wounded prey. They fired and fired and fired. Myra watched her screens as the enemy fleet crumbled. Each explosion was revenge for every species the Kraul had enslaved. Each destroyed ship was justice for all the worlds they had burned. Her hands moved across her console, selecting targets, coordinating fire, doing her job with cold precision. But inside she was screaming with joy. The battle lasted 12 minutes. When it was over, not a single Kraul ship remained. 300 warships, 2 million warriors, reduced to debris and dust. The Terran fleet had not lost a single vessel. Sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. The first battle was won, but he knew this was only the beginning. The hegemony would send more ships. They would send thousands, millions if necessary. They could not allow a primitive species to defy them. He opened a channel to Earth. His grandmother's face appeared on the screen, old and tired but smiling. It worked, he said. The shields held. The weapons worked. Everything you designed, everything we built. It worked. Nodded slowly. I never doubted it would. Now comes the hard part. What hard part? Making them understand, she said. Making them realize that humanity is not prey. We are not meat. We are not slaves. Her eyes hardened. We are the species that built 500,000 warships in secret while they were not watching. We are the species that just destroyed their harvesting fleet in 12 minutes. We are humans. She leaned closer to the screen. And we are just getting started. They thought humans were frail, until 500,000 Terran battleships filled the stars. Part 4. The Galaxy Learns Fear. The news of the Kraul fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. It reached the hegemony capital in hours, carried by faster-than-light communication beams that connected 1,000,000 worlds. The Supreme Council gathered in their great chamber, a room carved from a single piece of crystalline rock that had taken 1,000 years to build. 12 species sat at the ancient table, though with their bodies of living ice. The Kraul with their razor mandibles, though with their floating tentacles. 9 others, each one powerful enough to conquer star systems on their own. Together, they had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Now they were afraid. The Supreme Arbiter slammed his crystalline fist against the table. Cracks spread through the ancient stone. 300 warships, he roared, destroyed in minutes, by primitives, by creatures we classified as harvestable. The Crawl representative clicked his mandibles in shame. The humans had technology we did not expect, ships we did not see. We underestimated them. Underestimated them. This telepathic voice cut through the room like a blade. We watched them for 300 years. Our probes mapped every corner of their system. How did we miss 500,000 warships? No one had an answer. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to negotiate with humanity, to find a peaceful solution before more hegemony lives were lost. Others wanted total war, to crush the humans so completely that no other species would ever dare to resist again. In the end, the second group won. The hegemony assembled the largest fleet in its history, 5,000 warships from 6 different species, dreadnoughts that could crack moons, carriers that held 10,000 fighters each, enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds. They sent this fleet to Earth with a single order: leave nothing alive. Commander received the intelligence report 3 days before the enemy arrived. She was 54 years old, a career soldier who had spent her entire adult life preparing for a war she thought might never come. Now it was here, and she was ready. She gathered her captains on the command deck of her flagship, the TSS Vengeance. 50 faces looked back at her, men and women from every nation on Earth, united by a single purpose. The hegemony is sending 5,000 ships, she said, her voice calm and measured. They think this will be enough to destroy us. They are wrong. She pulled up a holographic display showing the enemy formation. They are coming in a standard attack pattern, the same pattern they have used for 10,000 years. They expect us to defend Earth, to protect our at all costs. She smiled coldly. We will not do what they expect. The battle took place in the empty space between Mars and Jupiter, far from any planet or moon. Chose this location for a specific reason. She wanted the entire galaxy to watch. She had made sure that hegemony communication channels were open, that every species under their control could see what was about to happen. The two fleets faced each other across 1,000,000 kilometers of void, 5,000 alien warships on one side, 20,000 Terran battleships on the other. The hegemony commanders felt confident. They still had the humans outnumbered in terms of size and firepower. Their ships were bigger, stronger, more experienced. They were wrong about everything. Opened a channel to the enemy fleet. Her face appeared on screens across the galaxy, broadcast to 1,000,000,000 beings who had been taught that the hegemony was invincible. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes like steel. I am commander of the Terran Compact, she said. You have come to our home to enslave our people. You have come to burn our cities and harvest our children. You believe you cannot be stopped. She paused, letting her words translate into 1,000 languages. You are wrong. The hegemony fleet opened fire. Thousands of plasma beams and missile volleys streaked across space, enough firepower to destroy a continent. The Terran ships did not run. They did not hide. They flew straight into the barrage, shields flashing as they absorbed the energy. Then they attacked. Terran tactics were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships did not fight as individuals. They fought as one, moving in perfect coordination, covering each other, supporting each other. When one ship's shields weakened, 2 others moved to protect it. When an enemy vessel tried to flee, 3 Terran ships cut off its escape. This was not the result of telepathy or hive minds or computer control. This was something the hegemony could not understand. It was trust. It was training. It was 200 years of humans working together, planning together, preparing together. The dreadnoughts fell first. Their massive size made them easy targets for coordinated attacks. Terran ships swarmed around them like wolves around a wounded bear, firing again and again at the same weak points. One by one, the giant vessels exploded in balls of blue fire. The crawl carriers tried to launch their fighters, but Terran interceptors were waiting. For every alien fighter that left its bay, 3 human pilots were ready to meet it. The dogfights were brief and brutal. Human reflexes, human courage, human skill against alien instinct. Humanity won. They tried to use their telepathy to confuse the human crews. They sent waves of fear and despair, trying to break human minds. But humans had learned to resist. They had trained for this. They pushed back against the mental assault with memories of home, of family, of everything they were fighting for. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, 3,000 hegemony warships were destroyed. The remaining 2,000 surrendered, their crews terrified and broken. The Terran fleet had lost 200 ships, 6,000 humans dead out of 500,000 who fought. It was the greatest victory in human history. Stood on her bridge and looked at the wreckage floating in space. She thought about the crew members who had died, the families who would receive terrible news. Victory always came with a price. But the price was worth it. She opened a channel to the galaxy one more time. Behind her, visible through the viewport, the full Terran fleet held formation. Row after row of black ships stretching to the horizon of space. 500,000 vessels, built by a species the galaxy had dismissed as weak. You measured our bodies and called us frail, said. You measured our and called us brief. You looked at us and saw only what we lacked. She stepped closer to the camera. You never measured our will. You never measured our determination. You never understood that humans do not fight alone. We fight together. We trust each other. We would die for each other. Her voice hardened. We built these ships in secret. We trained in silence. We waited for generations. That is what humans do. We endure, we prepare. And when threatened, we do not surrender, we fight. And we win. She pointed at the camera, at the trillions watching across the galaxy. This is your only warning. Leave humanity alone. Stay away from our home. Do not test us again. She cut the channel. Across the galaxy, species who had suffered under the hegemony watched in stunned silence. The masters had been defeated. The invincible had fallen. And the ones who had done it were small, soft, short-lived creatures from a tiny blue planet no one had ever heard of. For the first time in 10,000 years, the hegemony felt something they had only ever given to others. Fear. And humanity was just getting started. They thought humans were frail, until 500,000 Terran battleships filled the stars. Part 5: The New Order. 1 year had passed since the Great Battle. The galaxy was a different place now. The hegemony had shattered like glass dropped on stone. 3 species, the ones who had suffered most under hegemony rule, immediately sued for peace with Earth. They sent ambassadors with gifts and apologies, begging humanity to forgive them for their part in the planned invasion. 2 other species, too proud to surrender, launched their own attacks on human space. They were destroyed quickly and completely, their fleets scattered across the void like leaves in a storm. The remaining 7 species retreated to their core systems and sealed their borders. They built defensive stations and patrolled their space with nervous fleets, watching the stars for signs of human ships. They did not attack. They did not threaten. They waited and worried, wondering if the humans would come for them next. Ambassador now represented humanity at the Galactic Assembly, a new organization that had risen from the ashes of the old order. It met on a space station built in neutral territory, far from any. 30 species attended, some former hegemony members, others who had been enslaved by them stood at the podium and looked out at the gathered aliens. Some were massive, towering over her like mountains. Some were tiny, barely visible to human eyes. Some were beautiful, some were terrifying, and some were so strange that human minds could barely comprehend them. But all of them listened when she spoke. The Terran Compact does not seek empire, said. Her voice was translated into hundreds of languages, broadcast to trillions of beings across the galaxy. We do not want to rule anyone. We do not want to harvest anyone. We only want to live in peace. A diplomat raised a crystalline hand. But you have the power to rule. Your fleet is the strongest in the galaxy. Why would you not use it? Smiled, because we remember what it was like to be weak. We remember being afraid. We remember looking at the stars and wondering if something was coming to destroy us. She shook her head. We will not become the thing we feared. That is not who humans are. The Assembly voted that day to form a new alliance, one based on trade and cooperation instead of conquest and submission. Earth would be its leader, not because humans had conquered anyone, but because they had freed so many. On the memorial station orbiting Mars, Fleet Commander stood with his grandmother and watched the celebrations below. Fireworks painted the Martian sky in colors of gold and green. Music played from speakers mounted on every building. Humans and aliens danced together in the streets. Species that had never met before joined in joy. Was 142 years old now. Medical technology had kept her alive long past normal human limits, but her body was still failing. She spent most of her time in a floating chair, too weak to walk. But her mind was clear and her eyes were bright as she watched the celebration. I never thought I would see this day, she said. When I designed the first battleship, I thought we might have a chance to survive. I never imagined we would actually win. Put his hand on her shoulder. You did more than anyone to make this possible. You and all the others who worked in secret. We were just the builders, said. The real heroes are the ones who flew the ships, the ones who fought and died so that others could live. She looked up at her grandson. The real heroes are people like you. Captain Myra joined them at the window. She was 32 years old now, promoted twice since the war began. Her ship, the TSS Resolve, floated in orbit nearby, being refitted for exploration instead of combat. Humanity no longer needed warships. They needed vessels to explore the galaxy they had saved. The ambassador asked me today how we did it, Myra said. How we kept the secret for 200 years. How we built so much without them noticing. What did you tell her? Asked. Myra smiled. I told her that humans are very good at being underestimated. We are small. We are soft. We do not live very long. Everyone looks at us and thinks they know what we are capable of. She looked out at the stars, at the infinite darkness that held so many wonders. They never understand that our weakness is our strength. Because we are fragile, we learn to work together. Because we are brief, we learn to plan ahead. Because we are soft, we learn to build hard things. She turned back to Anne. The hegemony looked at us and saw prey. They never realized they were looking at the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. In the assembly hall, Ambassador finished her speech. We offer friendship to all species who want peace. We offer protection to all species who fear conquest. We offer hope to all species who have known only despair. She raised her hand and behind her a holographic image appeared. It showed Earth, the small blue planet that had produced the most unlikely warriors in galactic history. Then it showed Mars, where terraforming had begun. Then the asteroid belt, where 100 million humans now lived and worked. Then the outer planets, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, all filled with human life. We were one planet, said. Now we are a civilization, we were prey. Now we are protectors, we were silent. Now our voice is heard across the stars. She looked at each ambassador in turn. The hegemony is gone. The old order is finished. What comes next is up to all of us. We can build a galaxy of fear and conquest where the strong devour the weak. Or we can build something better, something based on trust and cooperation. Something where every species, no matter how small or strange, has a place and a voice. She straightened her shoulders. Humanity has made its choice. We choose hope, we choose peace, we choose the future. The assembly erupted in applause. Species that had been enemies stood together and cheered. The old ways were dying. Something new was being born. On the memorial station, closed her eyes and smiled. She thought about who had discovered the alien probe so long ago. She thought about all the engineers and scientists who had built in secret. She thought about the soldiers who had fought and died. She thought about her son, killed in the first battle, and her grandson, who had led humanity to victory. She thought about all the generations of humans who had kept the faith. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it." Knelt beside her chair, grandmother. "I am tired," said. "I have been tired for a long time, but I wanted to see this day. I wanted to know that everything we sacrificed was worth it." She opened her eyes and looked at the stars one last time. "It was worth it," she said. "Every secret kept, every ship built, every life lost, it was all worth it." She took her grandson's hand. "The galaxy thought we were weak. They were wrong. Humans are not weak. We are patient. We are stubborn. We are kind to our friends and terrible to our enemies. We are everything they never expected." Her voice was fading now, but her words were clear. "Remember that. Remember what we can do when we work together. Remember that no matter how dark the night, the dawn always comes." She smiled one last time, and 500,000 battleships filled the stars. Outside the window, the celebration continued. Humans and aliens danced under the lights of 100 moons. Ships flew overhead, trailing ribbons of color. Somewhere in the crowd, a child laughed, the pure sound of joy and hope. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, but more importantly, the galaxy had learned to respect them. The small, soft, brief creatures from a tiny blue planet had done what no other species had ever done. They had faced the darkness and won. And they had done it not through cruelty or conquest, but through patience and unity and love. The universe would never underestimate humanity again. The end.